Okay, I put some new batteries in my mouse. I'm not sure that that's... It seemed better after I did it, but maybe I'm about to find out that really it's FFmpeg that's making my mouse unhappy. So, what exactly am I doing today? I'm going to make a note of another minor bug. Occasionally fails to start, but then starts upon retry. Don't really know why that is, but don't know. Now, I'm going to make a note about that. Oops. Better error reporting. General would help. That's a thing I should think about generally, because as it stands, the program's starting to get kind of sort of usable. But there are just little oddities like this, which I just can accept and put up with, which would just be baffling. But I do have to think about what I'm going to do, what else I plan to do with it, because these things are... they'd be nice, but they're actually pretty huge in a way, particularly the data bank. Like height distribution information. There's an overlap between getting height distribution information and getting the data bank output from the render. All of these things. Because I could... how do I put this? This is a data bank interpretation. I could do some interpretations of the data bank information inside our render, or I could just dump the data bank out. I could make it an option to explore the data bank. As much as I've got an image viewer, perhaps I need a data bank viewer. It is a thing I'd thought about. It would be very useful. Like, one of the things that would probably be the most useful in improving the renders in a detailed way is to be able to take the data bank as opposed to the render, because the data bank's the thing that takes a long time to construct. And actually modifying the thresholds, the gradients, the scale, style and value, and actually loads of other details about the way you could color the data bank could be done in a fraction of a second, really. In fact, none of my renders... I should have a look just now. I look at x.8 color sample time, 2.66 seconds. Well, yes. Now, this is in debug mode, I can see up here. And I can also see that the draw time is 50 seconds nearly. So yeah, the draw time is the thing that creates the array, and here a third of a second to parse the array, and 3 seconds, nearly, well, less than 3 to color it. So, like, the big thing, really huge thing that would make this into, from this point, into a better program is not to pursue more detailed data logs, but to pursue a data bank editor, a real-time data bank editor, so that similar to the image viewer, there's something like a data bank viewer. Now, the question is that really a thing that I'm up for doing? Because as it stands, the program's pretty cool. I can make a few fancy little animations with it. I might be able to render a couple of explosions, and it's been fun. But I have also worn myself out with it in a way, and would like to see the end of it. part of me thinks maybe I should just chalk this up to being, uh, you know, a possible improvement in the future. In the meantime, I'm not sure. There's one little thing I wanted to do. I wanted to go into GUI, and I wanted to go into virtual panel, virtual response. And here I'm saying if mouse wheel is greater or less than 0 and not Y locked and viewport mouse over. This just goes crazy all the time. I can't stop it scrolling all the way to the end of the... It starts and won't stop until I do something else. So the mouse button or wheel. And I don't know why. And I'm going to just try something, which is say absolute version of mouse wheel is greater than 1. Or 1.5. And I'm going to run it. Do I have the debugger off? Yes. And I don't really expect that to work. I just want to force it to want more out of the mouse wheel to make it spin. I think the quickest thing I can do is this. Ah, nothing at all. Wow. Okay, I'm going to try 1. And then I'm going to try 0.5. So I'm in doubt basically at this moment about what else to do to this project. I might just, I don't know, I don't have a place to put things online. Did I miss that? Absolutely nothing. Okay. So I'm guessing it only ever meets 1. I'm pretty sure mouse wheel doesn't, wheel Y, does it return a float? I mean, if it doesn't return a float, in fact, come to think of it, I bet it doesn't. I bet it's just an integer, if I'm sure it is. And so now it'll work again, and yeah, work and not work. So, well, that was a waste of time. If I'd thought about it returning an integer, I probably would have. Let me see about this. Where's something with a lot of stuff in it? Oh, not that. That's an infinite loop of things. Yeah, all I do is chuck it all the way to the top, from the top to the bottom. I can interrupt it halfway, but I can't stop it once it starts. Well, don't like the way it kind of is slow, or seems sometimes slow to respond. Anyway, on the whole, it's not bad. I don't much like that either, but I'm not sure it's worth faffing with it. Okay. So I may as well just save mouse wheel is greater or less than 0. But it is an integer. So was I comparing it to a float before? I would be surprised and saddened if that was what I was doing and that was what the problem was. But back to reality. Okay. The position of that close button probably is wrong as well, isn't it? It's too near the close close button of the actual app. Anyway, so now, like I say, it's a bit of a quandary. Let me run it again and think. The things that are there basically work. I don't think there are little dodgy things like none here. That shouldn't say none value none. That button should just go dead. I have to go back in and look at the renderer. Basically, that's the only thing. Another small thing is I want these buttons to close this as well, and I want this to appear just below that when it opens so that you can immediately click it again to close it. Tiny little details which will be worth doing. Everything else, I think, is working as intended. Will I just do this bit immediately? Or will I actually just try something? Which will be something like this. I want to say, go away a few of you. And let me try, what have I got? 1, 2, 3. Only 3, that's probably too few. I want what? I want some kind of little cloud here. And with only 1, 2, 3, 4, I should be able to bump up to maybe 5. Okay, let's say that. And I'll add a point here. Oops, I'll go back to the start for clarity. And move this up here. And also I'll make it single. So this is the animation. Wow, it goes further than I intended. Okay. Seven recursions, that shouldn't take long. So I'm just going to render a still of that. Okay, not enough recursions. Yes, keep it log. Bump up to 10, and let's see how long that takes. Oops, not. That is insanifying. That's still pretty nippy. I guess it's short lines, okay. So that's what it looks like, and the high, top pixel height's 815, not too high. 10 recursions. So, but I will bump this up then to 815. Now I will just try it again and see what it looks like. Get some idea of the height distributions. Okay, well, one moment. Well, I'm tempted to bump up the recursions again, but it can be hard to predict or understand what a difference one extra recursion can make to rendering time. So here we see, okay, quite a bit longer, but still not too bad, and totally saturated again. Now up to 2500, so I'll just bump it straight up again. And I have an exponential scaling of 0.8, which is actually what I would want, kind of. I might put it down to 0.7. I should output the... Okay. Let me have a little look at this. Average 192. Okay, oops. This time I'm going to just save that as test, which is my the first test. Yeah. All the tests are meaningless and for the points of comparison. Now, I'm going to take the exponential value down to about 0.7. Right, not a huge difference really, eh? No. Well, no, between 0.7 and 0.8, I suppose it's that surprising. I feel I can see just slight differences, but what probably I will not bother saving 0.7, I'll just keep the 0.8. What can be fun is to take it right down. Like, once it's down to 0.5, it's not making a lot of sense, I think, but let's have a little look. No, 0.5, it's starting to band. The lower values are breaking up very much. And then below this, I'm just going to go down by 0.1 at a time. The renders are fast enough at the moment. Yeah, this is what starts to happen. That's down at 0.4, the banding. It's like, so that's the fourth root, hang on, 0.4. So it's less than a square root. I can't figure out exactly what it is, but then that's my maths for you. But if I go down to 0.3, that's like just below a cube root. Yeah. I don't know. It's not beautiful in a way. I don't know. In some ways, it is kind of beautiful. I would, I should render an animation like that just for kicks, but it's a lot of rendering time. I really need a second computer, just some other thing. I do have another machine. I should just set it up and prepare it with some. And for the sake of it, I'll go down to all the way down to 0.99, and that's basically 0.1. But it's I've never gone to that level before. I almost expect to see nothing. Yeah, well, look at that. 3 colors. Sweet. Really quite pleased with that, honestly. And I could still change this. I could bump it up to 5,000 and let's just see actually. There's something broken about my -1 value for, yeah, it just doesn't go much further, does it? Oh no. Yeah, okay, I see. The top of the gradient, yeah, is well beyond the top of the... Okay, it's not... I should have predicted that. So, putting this back to 0.9, say, and let's just have another look, because 0.9 is higher than the other that I've saved. It still has a graininess. Which 0.8 softens a little bit, but yeah, it's still there. Yeah, I cannot pretend it's a huge difference. I can kind of line them up a bit, but I won't be able to line them up quite because, yeah, they're not the same image. Anyway, do I want to save the latest? I don't. But it's not quite right. It's not quite what I'm looking for. I want something with a little bit more structure than that. Or at least starting with more structure. And I wonder if there's just... Have I done so? Okay, let's just see what it comes up with. Yeah, that's slight, but actually that's much more what I'm looking for. Let me just see what the actual... Okay. And out here at the end of it, because this isn't a looping animation, that end of it is the most extreme it will look. It's not approaching the beginning again by that point. If it was looping, it would. It's obvious, really, but I've put an extra point in there. Yeah, this is where, and it goes up to 4,000. This is where I really need to fix that automatic high setting. Now that I have the exponential scaling, having a rigid high point, without the exponential scaling, having the high point be the highest point on the data buffer, is not much use often. But now that I do have the exponential scaling, I think I do need it, and I don't think it works either. I think I broke it. But before I think about that, I want to look at the image here. So by that point in the animation, yeah, it's absolutely saturated. So if I mean, I can bump this up to 4,000 and do a render, and I'll get probably something nicer. I'm going to put the exponential stuff down again. This is more line. Well, it's longer lines. I'm going to put that down for next time. Yeah, well, it's not completely saturated, not as saturated anyway. But then if I go back to the start with 4,000, so to render, if I render this animation, having the static value there, yeah, this is kind of just a bit probably too dark for what I'm thinking about. But I'm going to give this a go anyway. I'm going to leave that as the animation, and I'm going to open the gradient editor. And I'm going to... Well, an annoying thing about this is that this is a bit of a too detailed a gradient for me to... The gradient editor could, for sure, be easier to use, let's say. I want to start out by going to here and saying, make something which is absolutely transparent. And that will be stored there as a transparent thing. And apply it to everything here. Oh no, this goes there, okay. This goes there, okay. This goes there, okay. Now I'm going to want another couple, or a good few. But at this end I also want it to be completely transparent. This is not exactly... And I see I've got a problem with this. That shouldn't be going black when I do that. Anyway. Also, what I need is a paintbrush. I understand this now. For this gadget to be really useful, I need to be able to paint the values across it. And I need to be able to select a type of colour that I want to paint across it. Now, this is getting somewhere. Now I think that I'm going to boost this to yellow because I want this moment to be the most intense. But then from here on in, I want it to be quickly sort of fading, and I might leave that. By the time it's here, I actually want this to be grey and almost transparent. And I want this to be grey and just a bit less transparent. And this to be, at this moment, sort of the most solid and untransparent. This probably is not quite a good enough grey. Here I want it to be going grey at transparent. Now I'm going to apply that. This looks really bad now that I've got a bit of a tricky sort of gradient for it to render. Now look at this. Everything looks well different. And my approximating with the additional rendering is doing what it can. Let's just render this. I expect, my hope is that I get a completely black screen. What it will really represent, yes, good, is a completely transparent image, but let's go forward to here and render still. Okay, well, it depends partly how well the transparencies are working. And to here, I think it needs to go more red more quickly. But let's have a look. In fact, I think there's probably too much yellow in the later part of the animation generally. Well, yeah, I feel that is. I think that this should be going well red. I want to actually have another little look at that. Say maybe this actually should be a more red grey, but still maybe a bit more transparent. I don't know. Actually, maybe that should just be flat grey. We'll see. Let me just render this. How am I doing for time? Okay. Okay, yeah, I think, well, yeah. It's not that great actually, and apart from anything, the frame needs to be bigger, but also apart from anything, am I going to do this 90? I think actually what I want to do it is 512 by 512. Oh, that doesn't update. I'm going to have to do that. It's a thing I must remember. And I'm going to try and make sure I get it all. Whoa. Whoa. At lower resolution there are far more overlaps. Yeah, I need to get the dynamic thing going. This I am going to have to boost up to at least, I think, 8,000. Let's have a look at that. And that's going to harm the first image as well. It's an important thing. I'll just have to get my finger out. That's really difficult, but just that fact. I wish I could go and just immediately view. That would be sweet. You know what? I'm just going to render this. I'm going to render it as an animation. And I want for it, I don't know why that didn't remember the last animation frame count I did. I want animations for it. I think really it should be short. Like half a second. Which would be 12 animations. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say 25 and I'm going to say loop it 10 times. No, make it loop 20 times. I got that. All recursions 11. Save the render log. Do this, do that. And I will render a video. And I'll call it boom. Because what I'm trying to get here is some kind of explosion. Now this will take a little while, not really very long, because It's only 25 animations, and I'm tempted just to hang on. Yeah, going by this, it'll be a couple of minutes or so. My dog is once again being deprived her favourite company. Now, I am, well, not surprised. It's just, it's hard to predict all of the things that will affect the way that the thing looks. But of course, bringing down the size of the image is a big one. The line will just overlap individual pixels more often because that's part of the clumsiness of my line drawing routine. It's a problem, and there are good things to do, wise things to do, like not be using an integer to determine how many times a pixel has been crossed, but to use a floating point value and to scale the amount that a line occupies a pixel by the scale of the pixel itself, so that I understand how thick the line is. My dog is having a hard time dealing with this reality. I guess that's a thing I would do. I don't know. The details of I guess, really good line rendering I don't know about, and they're probably pretty amazing. "20 loops might take FFmpeg a while. No real idea. What's so hard about 24? Come on, dude." Okay, there it goes. FFmpeg rendering to boom MP4. Now, yeah, so what do I want to do? I think that this, I'll just have to, I don't think I'm going to do it right now. Well, look at that. Let's have a little shifty. Okay, well, honestly it doesn't really work, but it's getting somewhere. The animation now is far too saturated. Far too much of it is just straight off the top of it. Right, so this does give me clues about what the most productive thing to do, which is to fix, first off, the -1 threshold, the thing that allows me to just say actually the top threshold is the top pixel, and to experiment further by combining that and the exponential value, and possibly making a dynamic exponential scaling option which selects the level of exponential scale to use based on the extremeness of the highest pixel compared to the average. I will have to do some quick sort of, I guess, back the envelope sums to see what sort of ranges might be appropriate. But this is not totally disheartening, to be honest with you. It's you know what I want to do? What I want to really do is get GIMP and say new. Actually, cancel that. Find Windows, temp. I beg your pardon. Where? Oh, it's all added on the bottom, is it? Oh, did I delete the images? I did. I don't believe it. That, again, that is something that I don't think saved. Oh, that's so annoying. Well, so all I have is the animation. Okay, well, I'm going to do one thing then. Before I stop for just now, I'm going to come to here, render still. And I'm going to go in here and into Windows and find latest render.png, and I'm going to plop that. Where did it go? Off to the side. Oh, frustrations. Partly because of just not having enough space. What? Just not doing that, eh? Oh look, but that is one thing about it. It is transparent. It's a small thing, but I'm delighted to see it, that the transparency seemed to have blended itself in. It'll just be, at this stage of the animation, it'll be on its way towards being completely transparent. But that's nice. I'm pleased. This has no business remaining. So, I will get back into the render code and have a properly good look at, I'm printing too much stuff out here, get back into the render code and have a properly good look at setting my top threshold and have a think about doing a dynamic exponential thing next time.